buffalo BS. So we'll try that. Anyway, a little bit about myself. I caught my first striper in Chesapeake Bay, 1945, as near as I can figure. And what brought me to the West Coast in striper fishing, I was flying at the time. I was very fortunate. I could fish all over with my job. I carried a moped. If anybody's old enough to remember the old moped scooters, I carried that in my airplane with me. And Alaska, I fell in love with Alaska at the time. I done a little cheating to get some fishing in then. I would always find something wrong with that aircraft, and I would stay an extra day. I fished a creek called Willow Creek. When I wasn't using my moped, I could get on this train between Fairbanks and Anchorage. You could stop any place, but you better be there when they come back in the evening. I fished a place called Willow Creek. I caught on fly rods. I caught a lot of Arctic grayling. I probably come very close to the record, which I didn't know. I was turning everything back, never keeping anything. But that is get on the East Coast or the West Coast. I flew. My home base was Hickam, but I'd fly into our sister station in McClellan, and I met a girl there, and we were talking fishing, and she knew a lot of people with boats fishing, so she's going to take me fishing. I think we ended up going to fish on the West Coast, East Coast for stripers with bait. But I think we went to 5 Points. It's called the Arrowhead now, if I remember that right. Anyway, she's throwing these ugly swim baits. I'm fishing with bait. I think she caught 10 or 15 fish, nothing real big, but keepers. I caught one fish. There was only one thing to do there. I married that girl. I went past her for 16 years. She passed away. She got sick with cancer. But anyway, that's the way I got started. And I was throwing swim baits. And I wasn't getting a lot of fish. Get some fish, not very big. The fish would move. I'd get maybe one fish. And nobody was trolling then. Just a few guides was out there trolling. There was so many fish, everybody fishing bait. This was back, early 50s. And when I couldn't find these fish, so I said, well, there gotta be a better way. So I started hunting these fish. I trolled. My first lures was $10 a copy, called Rapalas. They were expensive then. And if I'd hang up, I'd use a lot of time trying to get this $10 lure back. Lost a lot of fishing time. But I didn't have no fish finder, nothing like that. I didn't know where the bottom was. It was all guessing. I would see these fish on top of the shoals working. Nobody trying for them. And I kept thinking, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I started catching them trolling. I had no idea how far back to go or anything. I kept experimenting. Finally, I got some color-coded line. And I was doing that, and that was working. And that's how I got started, different lures. And then the bombers come out, and still not a lot of people trolling, nobody shallow. And I started catching a lot of fish. So a couple of the guys got to talk to me and asked me to do a seminar on this. And that's how the shallow trolling started. I fished for a long time, thinking I better go back to this deep trolling. I wasn't catching any big fish. And I hear about all these 30-pound fish being caught. For years, I couldn't even hit 20 pounds, but I was catching more fish than anybody else. And I was down there one week, I broke all my records. I never caught that 30-pounder to begin with. My first big fish was 42 pounds. We got that in, and both me and this partner of mine were so excited about catching this big fish, we did turn it loose. Went back out, trolled it. This was the shoals that I fished. right out in front of the Cliff House in Rio Vista. But back out, the outside of these shoals, just got started, I hooked up again. Well, up to this point, I never caught anything over 20 pounds. My next fish was 36 pounds. I said, wow, am I getting good or what? Nobody else was doing this. And a week later, I got invited to fish at Sacramento River, Lake 29. That night fishing, we were doing some, no, it was before the night fishing, it was during the day. Yeah, if I remember right. I caught 3 fish, all over 30 pounds. I couldn't believe it. I said, man, you're getting good. It took a long time. Another 10 years before I hit that 30 pound. But I caught this big one on. I have some more here. He's out just a second here.
Perfect block.
Big JC 17 bomber. This is what we used for years. Bombers. This is my idea. There was some guy that started to fish out there. I think a guy called Tim O'Shea. He was putting this on, so I tried it. I said, okay, it's something different. And it will float it up a little. Most of my trolling, excuse me, I got a sinus problem there. I was fishing anywhere from about 9 feet to 7 feet with this bomber. This went on for years, and I got a call from a guy one time called Mark Wilson. He said, how about us going fishing together? And Mark hadn't been fishing shallow, but he was out there doing the deep water. I think you were fishing mostly on the San Joaquin when I met you. Doing very well over there. But we talked on the radio. So one day he called me, we're going fishing. Okay, it's in the summer. Nobody's fishing this summer. I was fishing all year round. So Mark was fishing, what do they call the Super Bowl Derby, right around that time. I said, okay, we can go tomorrow. He said, well, I can't. Why not? He said, I got to go to a wedding. I said, somebody I know? He said, yeah, I'm getting married. After that, we started fishing together quite a bit, and we done pretty good. And Mark showed me a lot. So I was doing strictly shallow trolling then. I was finding so many fish, and there was not all the grass. I've lost a lot of these places over the years. The grass has gotten bad, worse over the last 10 years. But Mark showed me a lot on the deep water, deeper trolling, 13 feet, and we'd even go more than that. He had a little lure, which I still use. What was it? B5 bomber, B20, small bomber with a big bill, went very deep. And I tried it this year again. I always carried it. I marked a bunch of fish, 26 feet, on the west bank when I pulled out into the deeper water. I see this big cloud of fish down there, a big school. So I put this thing down there and I hooked a big one. Fought that thing to the boat. It was a big carp. Snag with a tail. Tried it again and I did catch a striper, small striper doing that. So I tried it several times. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it wouldn't. But we used to use that. We used to fish. I will show you on the maps. I got maps I can mark later. We used to fish Discovery Bay about Christmas time. And that was both shallow and deep. And we caught a lot of fish right around Christmas. Everything else, maybe dirty water, but it was always clear down there. And we can still fish a lot of areas. Right now is probably clear. We used to fish a place called Little Connection Slough. And the first time I went in there, I was, before this, Mark asked about these Usuris. We heard about a couple of guys using. We never used the Usuris. And I think Mark sent for some. We only had about 4. And I had a hot one. It was a rainbow color, and I lost it after we caught a bunch of fish. I cut a corner too sharp. Remember that? I lost this hot lure. We caught a few more, and I think we only had four of these Usuris he ordered. And then that's where the Usuris started coming into play. And right now, I am using Usuris, mostly deep. I hardly ever use a shallow Usuri. I use the Angry Eye, which I'll show you here. And early this year, on the West Bank, those Angry Eyes were really working. The water was clear. I was using a call it a Wonder Bread. I have it right here, someplace. This is one of the Wonder Bread, this color. Both shallow and deep. They have one, the other one, the deep one was called the Predator. This is an Angry Eye. This was my hot lure. Most of early summer, July, first part of July, water was crystal clear. This, both deep and the shallow, was my hot lure.
How big's the bill on it?
The bill, let's see if I have it. The bill is pretty good size. But the thing that takes it down, it will not run as deep as the Usuri. This way the split ring is set on that bill. The one I was talking about, I do have the B5. If you notice the split ring is set way back, where that thing really, really digs in deep.
Do you color them, or is that a factory color?
Oh, that's a factory color. What I try to do, I try to match the color. I put a tail on. If it's that, I'll put the pink tail on. And I went out last year with Mark, and we took a guide out. He wanted to learn the Delta. I think, what did we catch? Over 40 keepers that day. And I lost a lure. And I had a pretty good lure going. And I thought, I'm going to try a pink lure. For 2 years now, if I fish a Usuri, it's been that pink lure. It's still good. I don't know why. It's so much better. I had one so beat up, I lost it on that. Oh boy, I know that's it. That, I usually put a chartreuse tail on it. And just about every place in the deep water I was going, this was working really, really good. And places I like to fish, or old fish, of course, the West Bank. You got the spring coming up. A little later on, I'm hoping I could do some of the stuff I used to do to catch fish. As I got older, and most of us, we get lazy when I'm fishing. I used to always take a rod along. When you pull out to play a fish in the spring, you're going to pull some fish with you. You can put that rod holder you have a fish on, put it in the rod holder. Unless you're fighting that fish is not going to pull and fight you. He'll stay there, take your spoon. I got some spoons that I use, mostly pea line stuff, little perk minnows or any of that. You can catch 2 or 3 more fish. Just spoon them. They're usually the smaller, schoolie size. They will follow those fish out. I've looked at my depth finder, and it was covered with fish. You don't always catch them, but most of the time, you'll catch 1 or 2. And I got lazy where I don't do that as much anymore. I just troll, being old. My next lure that,
Can we see one of those Sierra Sahoni lures?
yes. Oh, I got a story on that. Mark and they were catching fish one day. I mean, one after the other. And this guy was trying to find out what we're using. So we come up with this lure, Sierra Sahoni. So it got a little out of hand. So anyway, everybody's looking for this. So I was doing radio with Mark one time, and we altered off and on. So I go down to my son's at Bakersfield for the weekend, so I get a call from Bob Sims. He wants to know about this lure we're using called the Sierra Sahoni. Anyway, I guess we had to finally tell him there was no such thing. But I was down at Bakersfield, and he's calling me about this. I said, what are you guys using? Where are you from? I don't know. Mark told me there was only a few stores, and it was up someplace. I think they even made a game of a town up. I don't know. That's some of the stuff we come up with. Another thing I really enjoy, I like rattle trap fishing. And there's several places I do that. For 3 years, three or 4 years now, I have not caught a fish over 18 pounds. I'm stuck in that area. And last year, I got 4 18-pounders. They all come from the same spot. Glass House in Montezuma. Fished that right on, I like the 8 foot to pull these between 7 and 8 feet. And when I'm watching patrol that, I never take my eyes off that depth plunger. I gotta stay right on that line. 8 foot, no more than 7.5 foot. If I go anymore, I'm gonna hit the side of that grass line, I'm gonna hang up. But I get away from that. If we see fish working, and they're in shallow, I'll go to the smaller rattle trap. And I'll move into about 4 feet, and we can fish it. And I like it when I'm fishing up there. A partner Chester is usually with me. When we get back, I want to clean at least a fish or two to see what they're eating on. If they're on those rattle traps, man, we're in them for about 2 or 3 weeks. Finally, for some reason, they change, and we'll go to the silver. But even last year, we fished that by accident. We got in early. Mark is usually the first one in there, and his is usually, I think, September, October. Anyway, we're out there fishing in July. The wind is terrible. Grass every place we went. So I told this friend of mine that I was with, I said, let's see if we can catch just 1 or 2 fish, maybe local fish, in Montezuma. This is July. Nobody fishes it in July. We went in there, and it was loaded with fish. So I stayed in there through July. Most of the fall, we would launch a building. And there's so many places to fish in there, and we had good luck all year, caught fish. And the last time in there, the water was really dirty. They were working on the levees, and we couldn't catch anything until the